Webheads, welcome to another episode of After the Poll. This is the series where I take some of my highly most anticipated comics and I see if they live up to the hype. And oh yeah, I'm going to share with you, up until this point, what my top 5 comic books are. Guys, this is Comic Book Corner 2.0. I'm your host, Mike Spider Slayer. Welcome back. Hopefully you guys will enjoy the show. Before we get started, guys, if you want to find out what my definitive top 5 comics are of the week, guys, tune in Tuesday nights at 10:15 p.m. Eastern Time to Comic Book Weekly. That is the live stream that I host here on the channel with my good friends Kat and Brant. We discuss our top 5 comic books, the big comic books of the week, the comic books news, and we take all of your questions and comments live. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for that. Again, guys, Comic Book Weekly, 10:15 p.m. Eastern every Tuesday night. All right, guys, so let's get started with this week's episode of After the Poll. The first book we're going to be talking about today is from Behemoth Comics. This is Heavy Metal Drummer. That's right, guys. This is issue number 1. I picked this up, just put it on the FOC because I was like, I love the artwork of the cover. And here you get to see the artwork, but if it's a small comic book, so I'm showing it to you right here. It's not your standard size comic book, and but I love the cover art, and I was like, just this alone attracted me to buy the book. And I loved heavy metal a lot when I was a kid, so I'm like, I want to see what this comic is about. However, there wasn't a lot of metal. There was a lot of alien invasion or body snatchers or something going on in this book. But let's check out the artwork in here. So great introductory page, as you get to see, right? And as the book continues, you do get to see some heavy metal action going on in this book with a band playing and whatnot. But yeah, the artwork wasn't my favorite. It was a little wacky, a little bit out there. It kind of reminded me if I was on some kind of acid trip or something like that. This is just really weird stuff. All right. But it's definitely out there. It's different. I love supporting the independent comics. And this book was about some kind of aliens or body snatchers somehow in Earth, right? And first, it starts off with rats, right? They eat this little alien that's in the sewer. Then the cat eats the rat, and it becomes possessed. And then it possesses this old woman, and then she gets possessed, and then she gets rebirthed into some like hot chick, and then she starts screwing guys. And then they start becoming possessed. And I guess it's this body snatcher thing, right? And then the next thing you wind up finding out is the main metal drummer guy, right? I guess he comes across some vials. And I don't know. And he injects himself. And he has like this vision on maybe him possibly saving the world and battling against these alien creatures after he injects some weird stuff into his arm. It was out there, right? Metal. So if you want to pick it up, I'm going to leave it up to you. Definitely something different. It wasn't bad. It was entertaining. I just didn't expect what I was going to read here. So Heavy Metal Drummer issue 1. Coming in at number 7, guys, we have Dark Ages. This is issue 5. This is the alternate story, or alternate universe story told by Tom Taylor. This book has been pretty solid, right? Last issue, we had our heroes go from their land to Apocalypse's land to try to stop them from waking up this EMP creature once again. And in this issue, I don't think very much happens. We get to see our heroes adapt to this land, and they have this specific tour guide that's guiding them along, right? And before they get started, they have to give a funeral to Nick Fury, who did die in the last issue, and they come across Deadpool in this book. Now, the artwork is pretty solid in this book. It never disappoints. Check out Apocalypse in here. He looks really good, right? And really not much has happened besides this whole tour guide situation that is happening from them trying to adapt to this land, make a decision if the kids are going to be with them or not. But the big revelation that we get in this book is that we get a new symbiotic creature that attacks the camp, right? And right away it attacks Laura. And I thought that was quite interesting. And we find out that this creature is a symbiotic creature, and it's a mix between Venom and Carnage. Actually, it's the two together. And the person that they wind up possessing was Miles Morales, and I thought that was pretty awesome. However, it is short-lived. This creature takes off, and they rescue Miles, and now they just gained a valuable asset after they just lost Nick Fury. So that was actually kind of cool. The action in this book was outstanding. And we get to learn something about, what's her name? Honey Badger, which is X-23's younger sister, or Laura's younger sister. That she never felt pain before at all because she had nanites in there, and since there is no electricity in the world anymore, now since this whole event has happened, she knows what it's like to feel pain. I thought that was a nice little added detail, the whole thing. Again, the whole battle between the symbiotes and our heroes was short-lived. I wish there would have been a little bit more. Not much progressed the story, but at least they added a new ally to the team, like I said, and I love seeing the little sketches at the end of this book as well. So it was pretty cool, man. I really enjoyed it. So Dark Ages issue 5, definitely worth the pickup here. All right, webheads, coming in at number 6, we have Strange Academy issue 16. Guys, this book is really a lot of fun, done by Scotty Young, and Humberto Ramos does the artwork. It's about these kids that obviously go to this academy that was created by Doctor Strange. Things have happened with Doctor Strange. Obviously, he's no longer around, and it's caused some stress throughout the realms of magic, right? And we're dealing with a story arc by the character by the name of Calvin. If you followed the story from the start, he had this magical jacket, and it gave him powers, and that's why he was recruited to this school. Little did we know, this jacket grew in power, it possessed Calvin, and the jacket was actually stripped away, okay? Now, he has no magic, and he's gone to dark forces to gain some magic, and he's actually using that influence against some of the other students. And in this issue, there's definitely some ramifications that happen to Calvin in the book, okay? Let's check out some of the artwork in here. Always love the artwork. I think Humberto Ramos does a phenomenal job. And I love always seeing like the characters' facial expressions and the way they look. And it's just a good time, man. And, you know, this is kind of like a coming of age book. You get to see them learn all their spells and stuff like that. And there was this big winter formal that our students were getting ready to attend to. We get to see Doyle, who's Dormammu's son. He actually has a tough time, you know, dealing, you know, finding out if, you know, Emily is his, you know, little girlfriend or whatnot, and he has a tough time asking her to the dance. But they have a nice little relationship with each other, and it's kind of cool, right? But again, on the side note, on the more serious tone, we get to see the situation that arises with Voodoo and Calvin, and he was not supposed to do what he did, and this caused for him to be expelled. So he is no longer going to be part of the school, and right before this dance happens, we get to see Emily come across Calvin, and they're going to have this conversation about, you know, what happened, why did you get expelled, you're my friend, I want to discuss things with you. And she kind of stood up Doyle at the dance, and he's left there wandering, waiting, what's happening, and he was very insecure about their relationship to begin with. And if you read previous issues, right, they're meant to be split up and be major enemies against each other. So does that set the tone for this, right? I love this book. This book has slowly gotten better for me. I was a little iffy in the beginning. I was always like, well, where is this book going to go? There's no real story to it. And what this book has slowly done is it's really slowly introduced the characters so you get used to their personalities, how they work, and their insecurities. You've seen a couple deaths already along the way, and there's so much you can do with all these characters because they're so new. So I love this story. It's so well done, and I can't wait for issue 17 to see what happens next. All right, Webhead, so now we officially move on to the top 5 up into this point, and we're going to kick off number 5 with Robin issue 11. Now, this story has been always really solid for me, especially the Lazarus tournament thing. I thought that was so great. We got introduced to a bunch of new characters, and in the past couple issues, I think issue 9 and issue 10 have been kind of they've been just a little bit okay for me, right? But in issue 11, things start to pick up, and by the time you get to the end of this book, you're going to see that last page and you're going to be like, oh, so this is where they're going to possibly go with this. Let's see if it comes true. And this is something that's been in the works probably since Tom King has been on Batman, and you'll see in a little bit. So this book kicks off kind of like where it last left off. We're dealing with the grandmother and all this other stuff, and they have to wind up capturing Master Dusk, and you get to see all of the Lazarus tournament kids try to go find this guy, and that's basically what this issue is. But they get to highlight a lot of the characters in this book. Love the artwork in this book. I love the facial expressions. I love how lengthy the characters are and how big their eyes are. This is a cool page as well. And so you get to see all these characters work together, and you get a little bit of a revelation of who Respawn is, but you never see the actual character's face. There's always great action in this book, getting to see what the characters can and can't do. I love their little, quips and smart-ass remarks to each other. It's such a good-looking book, right? And so really, that's what they do. They accomplish their mission here. You get to see the whole thing wrap up. You get to see a nice little moment between Flatline and Robin. They share kind of an intimate kiss with each other, which was really nice. And they got to go back their separate ways. Flatline is actually going to be training, and then Robin is going to be going back to Gotham. And he comes across this Lazarus resin, right? And that was kind of the whole thing with this issue, this Lazarus resin. And he took a vial for himself, and he's got to go to Gotham, and he is hopeful. This is a spoiler, major spoiler, so just plug your ears if you don't want to hear it, close your eyes. But he's going to be in hopes to resurrect Alfred, because you get to see his tombstone at the end of the issue, and you're like, oh, damn. Is he going to actually do it? Is it going to happen in the pages of this Robin book? You know what? I hope so, because his death in that Tom King run, Alfred's death, was definitely unnecessary, and he is a character that is a must in DC Universe, right? So by the time you got to the end of this book, you're like, okay, I'm truly on board Robin once again, and I can't wait to see what happens when he gets back to Gotham. Coming in at number 4 on this week's episode, we have Gunslinger Spawn. This is issue 5. My favorite Spawn book by far. Brett Booth's artwork is, oh my god, it's so well done. It is some of the best art in comics today. Look at this homage to Amazing Spider-Man, this 2-page spread right here. Look at that. How awesome is that? I saw that and I'm like, wow, they actually really went there with that inside the comic book. Usually you see it on the covers, you see it on the inside on a 2-page spread. So well done. Had a blast just reading this comic and looking at it. And the art doesn't start there, man. It doesn't stop there. It just keeps going. There's so many great moments. There's so many fine details. Just so good. And then this guy, this clown character, he reminds me of the Batman Who Laughs, because he's got little clown characters by his side that reminds me of the little Damien creatures, So it reminded me of that. But the thing that happened in this issue is you wind up getting to see the clown's MO. Like, what's his purpose? Why does he want to recruit Gunslinger by his side, right? So you get to witness that. You get to see how the clown was able to separate himself from the Violator. It has to do with like time travel and stuff like that. But in order for Gunslinger to work with Clown, there was only one condition, that he would agree to work with him. And Gunslinger said, if you can bring me back to my old time, back in the 1800s, I'll work with you on your goal. And Clown was like, perfect, that's what I wanted. I knew there was some way that we can bargain with each other. Now, does that actually happen? Probably not. Probably things are going to go south. But my God, guys, this book is so much fun. I love it. And that's what comics got to be. They got to be fun. They got to get you hyped. When you close that book, you got to sit there and be like, man, I can't wait for next week's issue or next month's issue or whatever issue when it comes out these days. But I was pumped when I got done reading this, and I'm sitting there going to myself, man, this is only number 4? What's going to be, the outcome of all these other books this week? But this one is definitely a pickup and a must read, especially if you're a Spawn fan. Okay, webheads, coming in at number 3. This one goes to a Supermassive comic book. This is Supermassive issue 1, done by Image Comics. This is Kyle Higgins' deal here when it comes to all these new characters that he's creating in Image Comics and creating a superhero universe. And let me tell you, when I got done reading this book, I was like, this works. And I think this is going to be a lot of fun. Again, new heroes, new stories. And if you like the Radiant Black, there's no reason why you should not like this book. It has a little feel of Power Rangers, obviously Radiant Black characters, and some of the Marvel superheroes maybe that, and DC heroes that you have followed, in the past, right? We get one character that's kind of more like a Peter Parker-esque character, I feel, in Marshall. We learn about this character that's by the name of Marcus, who is Rogue's son, who is more kind of like the Batman character who kind of likes to work independently. Seems like he's got a lot of money based off of what we know from him so far. And then we got Cassia, who is Inferno Girl Red, and she comes from an alternate universe. So we already have an alternate universe in this superhero universe when it comes to Supermassive. And we get introduced to all these characters, and they all cross over with each other, and they all meet up with each other because they have there's this creature that enters the Earth's realm that Cassia accidentally brought in, and it's this big, huge creature that actually sucks powers or energy from heroes and whatnot, and they all had to team up. I thought the artwork was really well done. Again, we got a brief introduction of the characters on who they are. We don't go too much depth into their past and whatnot, but I thought the artwork was fine, and I thought their team up was fine, and their battle was pretty neat. Again, it reminded you of a little bit of Power Rangers, because when the three of them combined their energies together, they created this big robot, and it powered up and it destroyed the other big ass creature, which was super fun, man. I really like that. There was some cool little Marvel, I guess, paneling going on in here too, where you get them doing a fastball special, but they called it something else, which I thought was a little nod to Marvel Comics. Here's a little nod, I would say, to Power Rangers as they're powering up with each other. So again, I thought that was cool. And the best thing about this book, there was not a 1-page pinup page. There was not a 2-page spread. There wasn't a 3-page foldout, but there was a 4-page foldout in this. So it starts off looking like this. And then I can't even get this whole thing. And then it looks like this. I mean, it's huge. Look at that. Come on, man. That is good. There was a lot of work put into this comic book, a lot of heart. You can tell that they care about these characters, and they have a mission in place here for these characters. This is a book that I feel that you should pick up if you want to get on board with the Supermassive universe. Definitely a lot of fun. It's a 60-page comic book, and it gives you a nice little story here. So guys, check it out, because we're going to get Infernal Girl Red soon. We're going to get Red Rogue Sun coming out really soon as well. And then by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book, it looks like we're getting another character by the name of Dead Lucky. So awesome stuff here. Definitely, again, a recommendation for you. Coming in at number 2 was last week's number 1, so you're going to be surprised. Well, Mike, what's going to be number 1? And this week it goes to the Amazing Spider-Man issue 90. This is Beyond Chapter 16. So this is coming off the heels off of issue 89. We have Patrick Gleason once again telling the story, Mark Bagley doing the artwork, and we get to see good old Spider-Man continuing his battle with the Queen Goblin, which I thought was a lot of fun. And in so many ways, this book just screamed classic Spider-Man, early 90s for me, with that Bagley artwork and this new great villain here of Queen Goblin. I think this character could have legs after this whole story is going on. I would love to see her continue. And we get a great 2-page spread here, so I'm going to show you that one. So awesome artwork here. And if you love Bagley's artwork, it just doesn't stop. There's just action continuing to go through this entire book. I had so much fun looking at this book as well. Check out this. We got that goblin gaze. You know, everyone's talking about that in comments and whatnot, as it brings out the most negative things in somebody's life, and it forces them to possibly, you know, kill themselves, commit suicide or whatnot. So this issue had a ton of action involved in it. We get to see Queen Goblin, Spider-Man doing battle against each other. We wind up seeing Maxine Danger trying to get involved, or trying to find Ben Reilly, can't find him. And we find out that we get the dirty on the Beyond Corporation. We found out that they're the reason why this whole thing has happened. They did the whole UFOs thing. They did the whole Morbius and Kraven the Hunter, and they created the Queen Goblin. They're the whole thing. It's just not Queen Goblin. They create the hero, they create the villain, so they can make themselves look good, right? So you got the whole dirty on the whole situation. So we wind up seeing Queen Goblin get the upper hand on Spider-Man in this book. And then he looks like when all is lost, what happens? Good old classic comics right here. Spider-Man overcomes the fear, great power with great responsibility. Feels like he has to honor, you know, Ben Reilly. You know, when he passed that mantle to him, he felt like that he owed it to him to be the best Spider-Man there is, you know. So he comes out from the depths of the water, and he sits there and he jumps as high as he actually can, which through water and everything else is super high. And if he's not at 100% yet, man, I would like to see Spider-Man at 100%, and clocks the freaking, you know, crown off of Queen Goblin's head, and, you know, sends her flying away. And we find out that Peter has to team up with Ben Reilly and go into battle and stop the Beyond Corporation. A lot of fun, man. And where Ben Reilly goes from here, I don't know. We get confirmation in this book that his memories have holes in them. He doesn't remember everything. He didn't even remember who Peter was until he took off the mask. So it's kind of quite interesting there. I love the character work. Love all the details that went into the artwork here. And this is going to be a strong ending to otherwise a very slow story in the beginning. And it all led up to something. So the reason why, again, he fought all those random villains was because it was the Beyond Corporation's madness, right? There was a method to their madness, and now the story's starting to make sense. And at the end of the day, I must say, Beyond is turning out to be pretty good after all. So we talked about 7 other books. We have 1 left to go. And will this book hold up to its number 1 spot throughout the entirety of the week? Well, like I said, you got to find out on Tuesday, because I still have these other books left to read. The Death of Wolverine, right? I have Batman Detective Comics, issue 1054. DC vs. Vampires, issue 5 of 12. Carnage Forever, issue 1. Ben Reilly's Spider-Man, issue 2. Black Widow, issue 14. Bolero, issue 2. Berserker, issue 7. House of Slaughter, issue 5. And Saga, issue 56. So, I don't know, guys. Could these books overtake the other top 5? Like I said, find out on this week's coming episode of After the Poll. Guys, number 1 as of right now, we have Silver Surfer Rebirth, issue 2. My God, I love this book. This book is so good, way better than the first issue. And this book screams 90s Marvel Comics all over it, right? Look at the cover of this book. It's got Thanos versus Silver Surfer on it, right? And if you grew up to comic books when I did, this is what you remember, right? Look at that corner box. The old school Marvel Comics logo, Silver Surfer flying in there, the way the numbering was back then, that's how it was. And even the artwork is just the way you remembered it during this run on Silver Surfer. The interior artwork is no different. 2-page spread right here of these two battling each other. Check that out. So good. So good. Yes, there is a lot of conversation going on in this book, but things start to heat up, right? Check this out here. Nice little page with Thanos and the Reality Stone. Just really great stuff. Overall, the artwork was phenomenal. The story starts to heat up here. Thanos and Silver Surfer meet up with each other and they have a discussion. Thanos needs Silver Surfer's help because someone stole the Reality Stone. They're not too sure on how to use it. You get to see glimpses of reality, are real, and then it's unreal. So whoever has this, again, just got possession, trying to actually understand it. In the beginning, Silver Surfer doesn't want to believe it, so you get to see this brief fight between Thanos and Silver Surfer. You gotta love Thanos' expression in this comic. He's kind of like, all right, you want to fight? Let's go fight. So they fight, and then Silver Surfer comes to reality. Thanos tells his story about what happened after the Infinity Gauntlet with the whole entire Infinity Watch, how somebody is in possession of a stone, and someone stole Thanos' stone. How? Why? You don't quite know, and you don't know who either. So by the time you wind up getting to the end of this book, you wind up finding out that our heroes are going out onto the mission to try to find the stone. The reality gets broken up once again, and we get to see Silver Surfer go against Galactus, or comes across Galactus, and you get to see Thanos, who is coming face to face with Nebula, which I thought was kind of cool too. And at the very end of this book, you're thinking, oh, are we going to get the reveal of the big bad? You don't get the reveal, but you find out who got the stone for the big bad. And once again, guys, we get the revelation that the Jack of Hearts is the one that's going to be stealing what you would think is all the Infinity Stones. What is going on with the Jack of Hearts? This guy, I've never seen him before, and he pops up everywhere all of a sudden. Like, he's in She-Hulk now, and now he's in the Silver Surfer Rebirth. I want to say he was in the Reckoning War too. Like, dude. But nevertheless, I love this story. It was super simplistic, but it had all the excitement of like 90s and modern day artwork comic, and it was just fun, man. I just love it. And anything that has to do with like Infinity Stones or gems, it just gets me hyped up. I don't know, dude. I just had a lot of fun with this book. It just screamed nostalgia for me, and I love that Marvel is coming out with these types of books for readers like us, so we can live our old days and then we can still enjoy some of the modern days of comics, right? So great stuff. So far, my number 1 book. I don't know if it'll hold up. We'll find out and see. So guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Don't forget to hit the bell. Would love to hear all your thoughts in the comments below. If you love my comic book hauls and you haven't seen it yet, I'm going to leave it here right for you to click on right now. And of course, guys, keep buying, keep collecting, and most importantly, have fun and read those comics.